Erin Patterson, big news at the moment as we record this. Was she involved in poisoning close members of her family? We are going to find out a lot about Erin Patterson in this video. Welcome to Never a Truer Word, where we look at the words that people choose to use to see if we can find out a little bit more about what is going on with them. And this looks at Erin Patterson at the centre of allegations that she's poisoned close members of her family. There was a meal at Erin's house and 4 people who attended that meal became critically ill. 3 of them have since died. Erin was at the meal and is absolutely fine. Dead are Erin's mother-in-law and father-in-law, that's Gail and Dawn. And Gail's sister, Heather, has died as well. Heather's husband, Ian, is seriously ill in hospital as I record this. And Erin is, under suspicion. She cooked the meal, she provided the mushrooms that seem to have caused the deaths and the illness. So what does Erin have to say? Well, she's given one interview to Australian TV News, and that is the interview that we're going to look at. Look at the words that Erin uses to see if we can find out a little bit more about what is going on. Thank you to Mike in the Never a Truer Word Facebook group who pointed this one out to us and also provided the transcription. If you want to be part of that Facebook group, there's a link in the description to this video. You'll also find a link to where you can watch the full interview as well. And we're going to look at Erin's interview through the lens of truthful deception and 2 big principles in truthful deception. First one, the words that we use are the ones that we most want to use, the ones that we feel will be best fitted to what is going on. Sometimes that's our subconscious just picking the words that best fit the truth. Other times, especially when we're under stress or in stressful situations, we deliberately choose words to provide a certain picture that we want people to see. The other principle is in general, we hate lying. In fact, we'd rather avoid telling the truth rather than tell a lie. So that's what we're going to look at here as we look at Erin's words. So the first part of this interview starts with Erin saying, "It's a tragedy what's happened." And she's then asked, "Can you tell us about the meal that you cooked?" Erin says, "I'm so devastated by what's happened, by the loss of Dawn, and Dawn is still in the hospital, the loss of Ian and Heather and Gail, who are some of the best people I've ever met." This interview just starts with a huge red flag for me. In fact, this is why I got interested in this. Erin is asked about the meal that she cooked, and she avoids the question about the meal. She doesn't just divert from it or make it appear that she's answered the question, things that politicians do when they're asked a question that they really don't want to deal with. Erin ignores the question entirely. And we've got to ask, why would you do that? If there's a simple explanation, why not say that? If you don't want to address that issue right now, why not say that? And there may be a good reason why you don't want to address that right now, but why avoid it entirely? Why even just say, "I don't know what has happened," if you don't know what happened? Instead, Erin avoids the question entirely, and that's a huge red flag. Next, she's telling us how devastated she is, but look at the frame she talks about the devastation in. She comes first. "I'm so devastated by what happened." And then she comes last as well. "These are some of the best people that I've ever met." So she doesn't express sorrow on behalf of the people who are dead or just general sadness that these people are no longer around. It's all through her own lens. We'll see more of this as we go. Now, why is it? Well, it could be that Erin is self-centered, and I think we'll look at her words in this interview, and they do appear to be very self-centered. It could also be, look, she's a suspect here at the moment, so is she trying to convince us that she could not be responsible for these deaths because these were some of the best people that I've ever met? Could be. I'll just look at that phrase as well. It's really weak. Just some of the best people I ever met. She could have chosen to say, "These are great people. These are lovely people. These are close friends and family." But no, it's just some of the best people I've ever met. Also worth noting is that Erin gets it wrong here. Dawn is dead. But she, first of all, says that, the loss of Dawn, and then corrects herself erroneously to say Dawn is still in the hospital. Now, we all misspeak at times. There's a lot of shock going on. No matter what has gone on, the death of 3 family members will be shocking. So we all misspeak at times, especially when we're in shock. But just keep this in your mind as we go through, because getting the wrong person dead is a hell of an error. Erin goes on to say, Gail is like, and someone says to her, take your time. And Erin says, Gail is the mum that I didn't have because my mum passed away 4 years ago. And Gail's never been anything but good and kind to me. And Ian and Heather were some of the best people I've ever met. They never did anything wrong to me, and I'm so devastated about what's happened. So this is cliche time now. Gail is the mum that I didn't have, which is fine. And yet she then goes on to tell us about the mum that she did have until 4 years ago. I think what Erin wants to give us the impression of is, since my mum died, Gail has been just like my mum, or Gail has been like a mum to me since my mum passed away. But she doesn't say that. It's very clumsy. Gail is the mum I didn't have because my mum passed away 4 years ago. It's not fluid. And when something isn't true, we have trouble making it sound fluid because we don't have the authentic feelings and experience inside ourselves to turn into fluid words. So is that true? I'm not so sure. Again, in this answer, Erin's trying to portray her thoughts about these people as positive, but just look where the focus is. It's on people doing wrong to her. She says that Gail's never been anything but good and kind to me. And by saying that, instead of saying Gail's always been good and kind to me, by saying never been anything but good and kind to me, she's opening up the possibility. She's showing us that in her head is the possibility that Gail could have been things other than good and kind to her. And Ian and Heather, she does say they're some of the best people I've ever met, but then she goes on to say, they never did anything wrong to me. Again, her focus is on people treating her badly, being not good, being not kind, doing things wrong to her. And again, Erin's focus is on herself around these dead people. It's how their deaths affect her, what she has lost here, not wider. It's all about Erin. She says at the end there, I'm so devastated. And that's the second time already she's used that phrase, so devastated. And so is a really weak word to describe our severity of feelings. I see it in deception all the time. When someone says, I'm so devastated, it's potentially that they're not really devastated and they feel just saying I'm devastated won't be enough. So they want to turn the emotion up a bit more, but there's nothing truthful inside them to turn the emotion up. So they use the word so. I'm so devastated, trying to persuade us about the severity of her devastation. The reporter tries to ask her a question. Can you tell us? And Erin carries on with the previous answer. And the loss to the community and to the families and to my own children who've lost their grandmother. Now, this is a bit better because she tries to widen the loss out to community and to families. But as soon as she's done that, and it's all very brief compared to everything else she's talked about how it affects her, she brings it back into her own world again and to my own children who've lost their grandchildren. I think Erin really is the centre of Erin's world, almost to the exclusion of anything else. Erin's asked next, can you tell us a bit more about the lunch? And her reply is, what I can tell you is that I just can't fathom what has happened. I just can't fathom what has happened. That Ian and Heather have lost their lives and Gail has lost her life and Dawn is still in hospital. And I pray that he pulls through because my children love him. This is the second time she's asked directly about the lunch and she avoids the question about the lunch. Instead, she tells us she can't fathom what's happened. And that's odd because we know what's happened. People became ill after eating that meal. It's fathomable. Something was wrong with that meal. If she wants to say, I don't know how they got poisoned, she could have said that. Or I don't know how they all got poisoned and I didn't. She could have said that. Instead, she just says, I can't fathom what has happened. And what has happened? That's downplaying. People lost their lives. That's what's happened. She's softening these deaths by saying what has happened. Very similar to, you may say someone stole money. The thief may say they took the money, softening the severity. We might say that someone murdered someone. The murderer may say they attacked that person. It's softening the severity of what went on. And what has happened definitely softens the severity of what went on. Erin uses the word just. I just can't fathom what has happened. That's to divert our attention in just that very one place that she can't fathom what has happened. She's saying just, this is the only thing going on. I can't fathom what has happened. And again, she makes the same mistake, continuing to make the mistake. And I'm going beyond misspeak at this time. It's, I don't know, misinformed or just doesn't really care about the facts, because Ian is still alive. He has not lost his life. And Dawn is not still in hospital. Dawn is dead. And again, when we talk about softening and downplaying severity, it's these people have lost their lives, not these people have died or been poisoned. It's lost their lives. So Erin is certainly downplaying the severity of what happened here. And once more, we have this self-centered Erin's worldview of things. She prays that Dawn pulls through. Now, I think she means Ian or whatever, but she prays that he pulls through because my children love him. Not because, well, who wouldn't want a person to keep living? Who wouldn't want a person to make better? Who wouldn't want a person not to die? Just for all the reasons that is the humane thing to do. But the reason that she wants Dawn to pull through is because her children love him. Really, really interested in that. If you're getting something out of this video, then you could share it on social media if you like. That would be great. You can give it a like as well so that more people get to see this. If you want more videos like this, hit the subscribe button as well. And I'm always interested in any comments you have, so stick them in the comments below, and that would be great. Let's get back to Erin. She's asked, and you must be pretty shaken up by this as well. And she says, I'm devastated. I love them, and I can't believe this has happened. And I'm so sorry that they have lost their lives. I just can't believe it. I just can't believe it. What do I get from this one? Well, she talks about them in the past tense. Well, she doesn't actually talk about them in the past tense. She talks about her feeling in the past tense. I loved them. So she loved them in the past tense. Kind of, I don't love them anymore. Or is this just, again, really not true? Is this Erin trying to get across how much she cared about them, but not really having the words to verbalize that? We all misspeak, especially when someone has recently passed. But she does talk about people in the present tense earlier on in this interview, if you want to go back and check, even though they are dead. So I loved them. Interested. And again, I just can't believe it. I just can't believe it. Very similar to I just can't fathom it. She only wants the focus to be on the fact that she can't believe it, that she can't fathom it. She has no ideas or anything on what happened, which can't be true. You know, there is more to it than that. I'm so sorry they have lost their lives is interesting. We do say, to be fair, I'm sorry for your loss when we had nothing to do with causing that loss. When we're talking to someone who's suffered a bereavement, we do say, I'm sorry for your loss. And this could be that. But I'm so sorry that they have lost their lives. We also say, I'm sorry I spilled your drink when we did cause the drink spilling. I'm sorry I broke your window with my football when we did cause the damage with the football. So I'm very interested in that word choice. I'm so sorry that they have lost their lives. The reporter asks Erin, can you tell us where the mushrooms came from? And Erin's reply is, I just ask you to leave me alone now, please. I just ask you to leave me alone now, please. The third avoidance of a question around the meal, around the mushrooms, around the food. The third red flag around that. All the way through this interview, when she is asked a direct question around the meal, around the mushrooms, she avoids the question. Huge red flag for me. Huge red flag. And like I say, it's always avoidance. Not diversion, not pretending to answer the question, but not really answering the question. It's complete avoidance. Finally, Erin is asked, police say you're a suspect. Do you have anything to say about that? Erin says, yes. I say I didn't do anything. I love them. Present tense note, I love them. And I'm devastated they're gone. And I have hope with every fibre of my being that Dawn pulls through. That's what I have to say. I say I didn't do anything. That's quite interesting. She is asked, what do you have to say? And she says, I say I didn't do anything. Stronger would have been to say, I didn't do anything. But just, I say I didn't do anything. Well, that's only your word. That's not the concrete, what happened in real events in real time. I say I didn't do anything. What is anything? I say I didn't poison these people. I say I didn't cause their deaths. I say that whatever happened was nothing to do with me. No, I didn't do anything. There's distance here from what has happened, and creating this distance from what has happened. And we see that so often, that people soften or create distance from events, serious events that they have been part of. And she talks about being devastated again. Devastated is a word that she uses a lot. Now take that to town. Take that out on its own. Do you have anything to say about that? I'm devastated. I'm devastated that they're gone. That's not an answer to that question, is it? Do you have anything to say about being a suspect? I'm devastated that they're gone. In other words, how can I be a suspect? I'm devastated. And once more, she makes the Dawn mistake. She thinks that Dawn is in hospital, still alive, when Dawn is dead. Wow. So what are my conclusions on Erin Patterson? Look, avoiding food questions 3 times and avoiding them 3 times is a big red flag for me. I want to know why she won't talk about the food at all, why she will not address the meal, the mushrooms at all. I think Erin is a very self-centered person, that most of what happens in Erin's world centers around Erin. She has difficulty relating to, seeing the good in, getting on with other people around her. Nearly everything she says, everything she talks about in this interview is about herself and her own very small restricted world. I think she lacks empathy as a person. Her wordings around devastations and what these people meant to her don't ring true to me. And she can't get it right who is dead and who is alive. I think that shows that she has real lack of understanding or relating to the world around her. So is there enough in this interview to convince me that Erin Patterson is not complicit in the deaths of these people? No, there's not. I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. Erin says she has nothing to do with it. But I have too many questions around her word choices and the answers that she gave in this interview to be able to go, nah, definitely nothing to see here. If you like that, you can connect at neveratruerword.com to find me on social media if you want to engage around this story or any other story. If you want to upskill yourself and look at the words that people use and find out what's really going on between them, behind them even, books.neveratruerword.com is the place to go to find a couple of books on that. And on videos.neveratruerword.com, you'll find some more videos like this. I will see you again for another video soon on Never a Truer Word.